Hi, my beautiful Bodega Sisters. Happy Friday. It's really nice out. I could tell. I haven't been out yet, but I could tell the weather feels really good as I have all the windows open. I hope you're all having such a beautiful day so far. I was actually planning on recording this episode yesterday on Thursday, which is, the usual day that I publish the episodes. But by the end of the day, I was so tired that I could feel my energy just wasn't there. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm not going to force it because I don't I literally can't fabricate enthusiasm. So I'd rather show up when I can, truly be present with you all. So here we are. Fresh Friday. It's Friday. The weekend is next. Grab yourself some coffee or tea, a fresh heart, and I'm gonna share with you guys a story, like always, that I look so forward to share with you whatever I experience. And it's like taking these ordinary moments and then having these reflections and these deep thoughts that lead to some sort of wisdom. And I love sharing that with you all. So last week, over the 4th of July weekend, I was standing in front of my magnifying mirror. Those mirrors that shows everything, like every pore, every eyebrow hair, every tiny little detail on your face. I had just finished inhaling steam. Last week, something was about to happen in my body. There was something brewing, and I made sure I took the proper steps to, what I usually do when I feel that I could be coming down with something. Thankfully, I'm good. I feel great. I'm 100%. And never developed into anything. So I just finished inhaling steam, which, by the way, helped tremendously. It usually helps tremendously with my sinuses. Sorry, TMI. But you know how your skin looks like right after a steam? And so my skin was super clean and dewy. And I looked at my mirror. I looked at my mirror, at myself in the magnifying mirror. I was really looking at myself and observing how pretty my skin looked. And I felt good and smiled. And I literally said out loud, God, I'm so pretty. I felt so pretty. I looked so pretty. And I genuinely embraced that. My skin looks so good. And before y'all come for me, I love when people say, I'm going to comfort you, comfort me. I don't want anybody to misunderstand what I'm trying to say here. Or start thinking oh my gosh, she's so full of herself or so conceited. No. That moment, actually, me thinking that and feeling that, it didn't come from ego. It didn't come from vanity. It wasn't me thinking oh my God, I'm so perfect and pretty. No. It was something deeper than that. In that moment, I felt so proud. I genuinely felt so proud of myself. Because despite it all, despite every criticism, despite every comparison, despite growing up in environments that sometimes celebrated or still celebrates a completely different type of beauty, despite the opinions, despite the silence, despite the moments that try to make me question myself and my self-worth, here I was, standing in front of this magnifying mirror, looking at myself and genuinely thinking, God, I'm so pretty. And then I remember thinking, how funny, out of all days, this is happening, or it happened on 4th of July. And the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. I was thinking, I think freedom isn't always something we celebrate outside of us. Sometimes the greatest independence we'll ever experience is becoming free from the opinions, the comparisons, and the voices we were never meant to carry. The voices that told us we weren't enough. The voices that made us question, or the environments that made us question our beauty. The voices that became so familiar, we mistook them for our own. And in that moment, standing in front of that magnifying mirror, looking at myself with kindness and appreciating the women looking back at me, man, that felt like freedom. That felt liberating. Because nothing about my face had changed or has changed. What changed was and is the relationship I have with the woman looking back at me. That made me think about my eyes, actually, in specific. Because I remember when I was younger, kids used to make so much fun of my big eyes. And without me even realizing it, I guess I believed them. I internalized it at some capacity. I actually spent years wishing I had different eyes. I think I wanted chinky eyes or something. Can you imagine that? And only to grow up as, and later always learning stories and hearing stories from my mom that she would always tell me that strangers would always stop her to tell her how beautiful her little girl was, especially because of those same big, beautiful, expressive eyes that I have. And nothing about my eyes has changed, only the story I believed about them. And and it made me think, I wonder how many stories are we still carrying about ourselves that were never ours to begin with, right? Maybe someone made a comment when we were little. Maybe we were compared to someone else. Maybe we grew up around beauty standards that made us feel like we didn't quite fit. Maybe nobody ever reminded us how beautiful we were or how beautiful we are. Whatever it was, because this is a really big topic, but whatever it was, please, as I'm banging on my dining table, please don't let someone else's silence or opinion become your opinion of your self-worth. There will be seasons in our lives where people won't celebrate us. That happens. I've experienced that so many times. Not because you're not worthy. Sometimes because people are generally distracted. Sometimes they are fighting also their own battles. Sometimes they simply don't know how to. And sometimes people do see your light and simply choose not to recognize it. But don't confuse their silence or their lack of appreciation with your value. They're not the same thing. And then there's the flip side. And then there are also people and environments that the moment you walk into them, girl, and everybody, you feel gorgeous. You feel lighter. You feel seen. You feel appreciated. You feel excited, encouraged. You leave with fireworks in your heart. Not because they created your light, but because they reminded you it was already there. They reminded you to see yourself with a little more love. And I genuinely think, and maybe I emphasize on this a lot, because I really think that and believe that one of the greatest gifts we can give another human being is to remind them with love of who they already are. To remind them they're capable, they're worthy, they're beautiful, they're enough. Because when I find people like that, when I'm around that kind of energy, besides feeling so great and empowered, I always ask myself and tell myself, man, I hope I'm giving that same energy back. I hope I'm leaving them with that same feeling. I hope they leave our conversations, our space, carrying a few fireworks of their own. Because that's the kind of women I strive to always be and continue becoming. When I started Bodega Sisters, and I even thought of the name and the mission behind it and the brand, one of my biggest purposes and mission behind Bodega Sisters was and still is to create a community where we remind each other of who we already are, our worth, our everything. A platform where we celebrate one another, support one another, and hopefully light little fireworks within one another as we walk this beautiful, empowering journey together. So today, I just want to remind you of something. You all of something. The next time you stand in front of one of those magnifying mirrors, really look. Not with criticism, not with comparison, not through someone else's opinion of you, but really look through love, through grace, through compassion. Because the relationship you have with the person looking back at you matters. It really does. And if today nobody reminded you, let me. You are worthy. You are enough. And you are so pretty. Oh, I could hug you. Now, don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. This doesn't mean that every day I look in the mirror and I have this profound spiritual experience and think, oh my God, I am so pretty. Because let me tell you, yesterday I actually looked in the mirror and thought, girl, your makeup is blotchy as hell. Go take that makeup off. What are you doing? And that's okay. That's okay. Because life isn't about having perfect days. It's about learning to see ourselves with a little more love. So go out there, get yourself one of those magnifying mirrors. Seriously. Spend a few minutes appreciating the incredible human being looking back at you. And maybe, just maybe, you'll see those little fireworks that have been in you all along. Trust me. You probably haven't been looking at those pores deep enough, like really deep. Mwah. Anyways, have a beautiful weekend with so much fireworks and cariño. Bodega Sisters.